Hi, everyone. I hope everyone at home is safe and healthy as we're observing the stay at home protocols for COVID-19. But there are issues that we still have to look into. One of which we've reported extensively in the past couple of weeks is the ending of U.S. funding for demining efforts in Artsakh, and what the ANCA is spearheading is to bring about new funding for this very important mission in Artsakh. So I'm being joined today on Skype by Robert Syfret, who is the program director of HALO in Nagorno Karabakh. He's coming to you from Stepanakert. Hello, Robert. How are you?
Hi, yeah, very well, thank you.
Good to be here. How are things in Stepanakert today? You guys are in week 2 of the state of emergency.
Yeah, well, it's an emergency situation,
Okay.
they term it. So it's one down from a state of emergency that was declared on Sunday, the 12th of April.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not had a complete impact. It's not the same as I believe it is in America with the
Yeah.
shelter in place and back home where my family are in the UK. But you see a lot more people wearing masks. Employees are working from home if they can in government agencies, and people in vulnerable categories are sent home. But day-to-day life is still going on. So it's a strange situation as we hope that the measures the authorities are taking are going to be successful, but at the same time are concerned that what has happened in so many other places might be coming here just a little bit delayed.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the situation, as has been seen in so many other places, it could be fine now, and in 2 weeks it could be really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But we have our fingers crossed that it won't be.
Well, I'm happy that you're safe, and we're also being joined by one of your colleagues from Washington, Amasia Zargarian, who's the Grants and Development Manager of HALO USA. Hi, Amasia, how are you?
Hi, Ara. I'm doing well, thankfully.
And
I'm glad to see that you are too.
things are going well in DC.
Yeah, it's much like the rest of the country, but kind of as Rob put it, it's business as usual
Mm-hmm.
on the government affairs front for us. So, Congress is still working, the legislative process is moving forward. So we're very much engaged on that
Mm-hmm.
every day here still.
Rob, I'm going to come to you. Can you tell us about some of the newer developments of your work with Halo in on the ground in Artsakh?
Yeah. So the good news is that our demining continues. We're really committed to the mission we've got here, and we put everything into it. The safety of our staff comes first, so it's not completely business as usual. We've developed specific training that got delivered to all the teams before they deployed this week. We've changed the way that we organise things to minimise the opportunities for the spread of viruses. We've issued extra protective equipment, gloves, masks, loads of alcohol gel and sanitizers, training in hand washing, social distancing. And some of it, I think, is really new. You know, the tradition in the minefields, the teams are really close, so they always share their lunch and eat together. And now they're bringing their own food in and eating separately, which is such a small thing, but for my teams here who are so close knit, that's a real change. And they're on board, they're careful, and they understand the necessity. But nonetheless, even these small things, which allow us to conduct social distancing whilst continuing work, are being implemented. But the men and women of Halo ANCA are still, clearing the ground where the minefields are, and we will continue doing that as long as I can keep that happening, but have my staff as safe as they should be.
Of course, safety is very important for the project to continue. Amasia, I'm going to turn to you right now. Can you kind of dispel some of the information that's being put out there? There is this whole thing about the funding that ended in 2020. Can you expand on that?
Sure thing, I'd be happy to. We've been working in Karabakh for about 20 years now, and we've been very, very lucky, and we're very appreciative of the fact that the U.S. government has supported our work, has been by our side that entire time. As you mentioned, unfortunately, that funding from the U.S. government came to an end at the end of March. And right now, what we are trying to do, our champions in Congress are trying to do, what our allies in the Armenian American community are trying to do, is to ensure that Congress includes funding for assistance to Karabakh in the 2021 budget. And what's happening now is that the House has done its part. We got 75 signatures on an appropriations letter from the House side. And right now there is a letter led by Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey circulating on the Senate side. And so we're calling on all of our supporters to make sure that you let your senators know that it's important for us as Americans that funding continues for this and that they sign on to the Menendez letter that is circulating this week in Congress. And you know, we talk about mine clearance. It's obviously a very important issue. HALO is also one of the very, very few international organizations that has ever worked in Karabakh. This is a place where, you know, the United Nations has never been there. The European Union has never worked there. And now with COVID-19, it's one of the most isolated places in the world because it's one of the very few places where, for example, World Health Organization funding and support can't go there. So as a humanitarian organization, we take our role and our presence, our unique presence in Karabakh very seriously. So we're doing everything that we can to help the people of Karabakh, whether it's with landmines, whether it's responding to COVID-19, whether, you know, 4 years ago at this time, the 4-day war in April 2016, helping clean up after that. And Rob can sort of describe how we are pivoting in some ways from mine clearance to helping local communities in getting ready for dealing with COVID-19.
Rob, I do want to ask you to kind of quickly sum up what are some of the things that you're doing right now. I know staying safe is important, but I need to impress upon the reality that, yes, the funding might have ended, but your work still continues in Karabakh. So please just tell us a little bit about what's happening on a daily basis there with your activities.
Yeah, so at the moment we're in this situation with the looming threat of COVID-19, but at the same time we've got the realities of our daily job to do. So the teams are out with, you know, swinging the metal detectors and clearing the ground. We've got our mechanical teams who are using our armored excavator front loaders to dig through areas which are very effective, removing anti-tank mines. We've got survey teams making sure that every minefield, even the ones that have only sort of people have become aware of more recently, are properly recorded so people can stay safe. And the EOD teams responding whenever someone finds an item of ammunition in their garden or field, then we respond to that. But at the same time, we're preparing for what's coming. And as Amasia noted, there's not any other help from the international community. So the authorities here are doing their bit, and we we're in communications with them, offering whatever assistance we can give. So we've got a really great mapping capability, which is absolutely crucial to mine clearance. But then we can use that, and we're preparing to use that by reviewing the international guidelines about mapping these outbreaks, so that if we're asked to assist, that's something that we can do. As a mining organisation, we've got to be prepared for casualties, which is something that we strenuously avoid and fortunately are very rare. But that means that most of our vehicles are ambulance capable. So we're off the health service that in the event that their own ambulance capacity becomes strained in a serious outbreak, we've got up to 30 vehicles that can almost immediately retask to support a national health emergency response on a request. Our workforce are used to training, they're well disciplined, so we're really adaptable. So whilst we're doing our normal day job of clearing landmines and the associated activities, at the same time we're planning and preparing to pivot our resources as is required for the most urgent need for the people of Nagorno Karabakh. We clear mines to help the people of Karabakh. Helping the people is the objective, and clearing mines is how to do it. And if temporarily responding to the COVID-19 outbreak is how we can help the most, then we'll do that instead.
So Amasia, I guess, tell us, if this funding doesn't happen, how can your efforts continue, and how crucial is this funding for the continuation of efforts in Artsakh?
Sure. So U.S. government funding has always been the backbone of our program in Karabakh. We've been very lucky that we've had donors. The Armenian diaspora obviously has helped a lot. Other foundations have been generous in support. But really, the U.S. government funding is what's allowed us to establish such a big program. I mean, before this funding was authorized by Congress 20 years ago, Karabakh had one of, if not the world's highest rate of per capita accidents from landmines and other explosives. But since that time, we reduced that to a manageable level, but still far too high for what a small place Karabakh is. So if that funding goes away, unfortunately, that reduces a big portion of our capacity to continue clearing landmines and to continue keeping people safe. So in short, it increases the immediate danger to civilians, to farmers, to children, to people just using the land around their villages. We're very proud of what we've done in Karabakh. We're very proud that we're one of the few who have been there this entire time. So we have no intention or desire to leave Karabakh. But it becomes difficult for us to fulfill our mission and to act as a humanitarian organization, whether it's, as Rob said, doing our day job of clearing landmines, or just being there as a capacity to help in the event of some other kind of disaster that we are seeing potentially unfold right now. That's why it's so important for our supporters to reach out to their senators, to reach out to their representatives, House representatives, and let them know that this is a priority issue and that we want to see funding for this continue in the U.S. budget.
Rob, it's an intricate process which you guys are doing over there. How much has been done, and how much is there still left to be done as far as clearing the mines issue is concerned?
Sorry, there's I'm sort of okay. It's a really it's a much more complicated question than it sounds. What happens in mine-affected countries across the world is that the amount of contamination that's known about increases with the further time after the conflict, as people move back into areas that had been deserted during the fighting. So even though big surveys have been conducted in the past, they can't catch everything. The nature of the landmine is that it's a concealed weapon. That's why it's such a dreadful thing. If they were obvious, if you could just see them, then we'd have finished it off by now. But they're buried, and you don't have a clue. You can't look at a piece of land with no other information and know if there's mines or not. So we're conducting a really thorough survey project right now. We're in the middle of it to give us the best possible understanding. And I think that by the time that project's finished, which will certainly take another few months, we'll know where we're at. But there's several million square meters that we know about that need to be cleared. And that's anti-tank mines, that can blow up a tractor, that can destroy a car easily, anti-personnel mines that would take an adult's leg off or kill a child, and they're denying really, crucial areas of land. And I think one of the things about a place like Karabakh and living here and starting to know about it is how important the land is to the economy. It's a country where the agricultural sector is vital, but also where pastoral land and foraging land makes a huge difference to the income of villagers in an indirect sense. It's not that they plant the land and sell the produce in some areas, it's that they use it either for their animals or for foraging and the natural resources, and a fantastic knowledge of the herbs and plants, so they can sort of keep themselves fed without having the incomes that would be derived from a more industrialised. So the mines have a really dual threat, both on their sort of direct income that people can raise through farming, and on those elements of the livelihood that aren't captured in these sort of basic dollar metrics. And I'd just like to take a moment to expand on the point Amasia made. It's fantastic that the US government has supported us for 20 years here, or supported the people of Karabakh, because right now I've got 147 staff who are Karabakhi, and I'm just one English bloke out here. So it's really a Karabakhi program, much more than it is anything else. I just get to talk to the camera, but it's that's 147 skilled jobs that are being supported, and at times it's been a lot more. And it's fantastic that the US has had the sort of encouraging commitment to support the people who are the governments have not really, other than on a couple of rare occasions, found the commitment to support, even though they deserve it as much as anyone else on the planet. But the lines on the map seem to make it a problem. I think that's really wrong, and it's wonderful that the American people have been courageous enough to see through that when so many others haven't.
Rob, I'm gonna
just add. Sorry,
sure.
I was gonna say, as Rob said, there's still a lot of work to do and a lot of impact to be made. But I'll just quickly say sort of what we have achieved, as you had asked earlier. We've, in the process of working there, cleared almost 500 minefields. That's tens of thousands of acres that we've given back to communities to use safely and productively. We've gotten rid of almost 12,000 landmines and about 60,000 other explosive items. That's a lot of potential lives that could have been taken by each one of those. And the estimate is that about 80% of the entire population of Karabakh has benefited one way or another from this work.
That is actually a great accomplishment. I also want to talk to both of you, and I'll start with Rob since he's on the ground there. The congressional visits last fall, we saw members of Congress, Frank Pallone, Jackie Spear, Judy Chu, come to Artsakh and see firsthand what your organization is doing. How critically important are these visits for this effort, and what do the locals think about it? I'll go to you and Stepanakert, Rob.
Well, I'll answer the second part of your question first. I think it's really important to them that a place where it's so off the beaten track, it's so left behind in so many ways, actually gets the attention that is due any other population, any other corner of the world. So it makes a real difference. I can see, the pride that the team have when they get to demonstrate, how they do their work, because normally they're working off on a hillside, away from the eyes of the press and the public. So it's great for them to be able to be seen for the dedicated and talented individuals that they are. So it's a real, so it's really good for our people. And in terms of the importance of the visit, I think it's huge because hardly anyone can come here. From so many officials are not allowed under one restriction or some bit of paper that they've got to have. So many officials are barred from coming here by their own internal rules, even though it's simply a matter of driving down the road. If it wasn't for the current, health crisis situation, my parents would be on holiday here visiting me now. But for a lot of these official people, there's some sort of rule here or there that says they can't come. So they never see the reality. But the Congress, the congressmen and the congresswomen have got that ability and that privilege. So it's great when they exercise it, and we really appreciate the time it takes. I know how long it takes to get to Stepanakert from London. So you can add quite a lot to that to get there from California and New York and the other districts.
Yeah.
But they see it. You can't understand it until you're here, and it makes such a difference. And I'd encourage everyone who can to come here, not just to understand the situation, but also because it's a really wonderful place to be.
It really is a wonderful place to be. Amasia, can you kind of talk about the importance of these trips and how do they impact this legislation that we're trying to pass for more funding?
Sure. All right. Yeah, and I think Rob put it really well. I mean, everyone is in theory supportive of something like mine clearance, right? Of course, the bad mines are bad. You want to get rid of them, but the work of doing the clearance itself is really something you have to see to believe. And visiting our program has turned these members of Congress from supporters to true champions. And the reason, they were so motivated to come out in the first place is because they have so many engaged constituents for whom this is such a priority for them. So we see sort of the direct translation of the advocacy work that has been done at the community level into really gaining the full 100% support of these members of Congress. And it's not an easy thing, as Rob said, for them to visit. They have to overcome a lot of hurdles. So we're appreciative of everybody, including not just the members of Congress, but everyone who made those visits possible. And we look forward to hosting many more. And when these travel restrictions are lifted and COVID-19 is gone, I'm sure Rob will look forward to hosting also a lot of members of the audience right now who may be watching if you're ever in Stepanakert, drop by our offices.
Be very welcome.
Before we sign off, any final thoughts, Amasia, as the deadline nears for the letter in the Senate?
Yeah, I'll just quickly reiterate how important it is for everybody to reach out to your senators to again ask them to support to sign on to the Senator Menendez's letter to support demining in Karabakh. And I just want to also point out that for the last several years, the U.S. has been the only country to give direct assistance to Karabakh, and the only vessel for that assistance is this demining program. So folks should understand that the end of support to this demining program is the same as the end of support from the United States to Karabakh altogether. We've made it easy for you to reach out to your members of Congress. You can just text HALO to phone number to 855-471-6208. Just text HALO, H-A-L-O, to 855-471-6208. And then you can just follow the instructions from there. It's very, very simple. It takes maybe 15 seconds to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amasia. Rob, do you have some final thoughts before we conclude?
Firstly, well, thank you for your time this evening. Well, my evening. I really appreciate all support from America to the program here. Reiterate Amasia's message, but also I just want to take this moment to express my eternal respect and admiration for my D-miners. The D-miners, I shouldn't call them my D-miners, the D-miners, the men and women who work for the HALO Trust in Nagorno Karabakh, who go into the minefields day in, day out, wind and rain, sun and snow, in order to make ground safe for anyone, regardless of their race, colour or religion. They make that ground safe for every human being in the world. And they're fantastic, hard-working people doing a really difficult job. And I hope everyone can support them.
Thank you, Rob, for everything that you're doing on the ground in Stepanakert, and thank you, Amasia, and all of you at home. We are living in kind of strange times. It is something that globally we're trying to confront, but at the same time, the world goes on and these issues are still critically important. So take a moment, call your senator, call your representative, urge them to sign on to the letter that is circulating for more additional aid for this important life-saving program. Thank you, Amasia. Thank you, Rob. And thanks to you at home for watching. I'll see you again shortly. Thanks.
Thanks.